My worker looked down on me not knowing I was his boss. I own a franchise that my family started when I was younger. I was the only one who wanted to take over the family business, so my father ended up giving it to me. My father gave me 2 restaurants before he passed away, and currently, I have 12 restaurants. I hired my family members, including my nephews and my kids, to manage my stores, so they can learn to expand the family business when I'm gone. I never forced them to manage my restaurants, but I showed them my wealth when they were teenagers, and showed them that if they wanted the lifestyle and comfortability I had, then I'm giving them the opportunity to get it. All of them understood that if they wanted to each have a piece of my restaurants, they had to learn how to be an entrepreneur and run a business. My oldest son, 30, manages 4 stores. My daughter, 28, 3 stores. My youngest, 24, 2 stores. And my nephew, 26, 3 stores. I'm proud of what they accomplished, and I feel very confident that my hard work will be taken care of when I'm no longer here. Every now and then, I'd like to visit one of my restaurants randomly, to ensure that everything is up to their standards, and everything is running correctly. I'm a simple guy, and have no interest in buying expensive clothes to impress others. My family even says that if they didn't know me, you can now check if there is a part 2 by pressing share and more. I'd fit in with the homeless people. I opened the door and waited in the lobby with 3 other people who had families. All of them but me were taken care of and seated in the next 5 minutes. I waited, and one waitress looked at me and continued walking, grinning. Next thing you know, another waitress walked past me and ignored me. By now, 2 families came in, and both waitresses came and had them seated. At this point, I was shocked and was completely speechless about the things I'm witnessing, especially since my restaurants are known for having excellent customer service. I got tired and decided to go up and ask the same waitress if I could be seated. Her smile faded away and gave me an annoyed look when I stopped her from walking after saying excuse me. My worker looked down on me not knowing that I was the boss. I apologized and asked when I will be seated because I have been waiting patiently for more than 45 minutes. The waitress, still annoyed, looked at me and told me to wait patiently while someone takes me in. 5 minutes later, and another family comes in and asks to be seated, and the same waitress comes in and takes them to an empty table. At this point, I knew that she was judging me based on my appearance, and I was getting frustrated. I decided I didn't want to waste my time and left the restaurant 10 minutes later. I left fuming with anger, and never felt so disrespected in my life. I decided to come back 30 minutes before closing. You can now check if there is a part 3 by pressing share and more. And around the time my son usually comes back and manages the store to do paperwork. I walked in, and the first thing I see is the same waitress waiting in the lobby. She saw me and gave me the biggest side eye and attitude. She scoffed and goes, "You again? Did you not get the hint the first time?" Again, I was shocked and said, "Excuse me. Do you not know how to treat people with respect?" She looked more annoyed and said, "Listen, old man, we're about to close and this restaurant doesn't serve, people who dress like you." I was completely speechless and angry to the point I even started getting mad at my son for even managing to hire this girl. I got tired of it. And when I was about to start yelling, my son walked by and said, "Dad? What are you doing here?" I looked at him angrily and said, "Who the hell is this bitch and how the fuck did you manage to hire someone so disrespectful?" My son, already looking worried, tried to calm me down and turned his head back to the waitress. My son, in a quiet, serious tone, looks at her and says, "My office, now." I had some time to calm myself down, and as I walked in my son's office, I looked at the waitress and said, "I want your other friend as well." I didn't forget about the other waitress who also ignored me when I sat down. My son, sitting down quietly, then talked and said, "You do know that this person is my father, right? The one who owns all 12 of the restaurants here in the city." Both waitresses were quiet until they started apologizing. I cut them off midway and said to save it because